So in terms of installation, we want to make sure that we have a 90-degree wrap at the entry and exit of the roller. And then there are considerations on the span length at the entry and exit. Usually you can get away with half a web width. We recommend about 1 to 2 web widths if possible. If you have a stiffer web like metals, you might need a longer entry and exit span. We want to locate the sensor as close as possible. This is true for any web guide. It doesn't matter if it's a displacement guide, unwind guide, rewind guide, any web guide. We want to have the sensor as close as possible in the span where the guiding action takes place. The recommendation is to be within the first half of the exit span. And then how long this span really depends upon how much correction you're looking for. Typically, these carriages are allowed to pivot only about 5 to 10 degrees. If you want larger correction, then you can make these spans longer. The main thing is that you need to make sure that the plane of motion of the carriage is perpendicular to the entry and exit span so that you can create a pure twist on these spans. And then as long as these rollers are moving in tandem or parallel to each other, then you will have the desired effect. They don't have to be on the same carriage. They can be on different carriages as long as we are able to move them parallel to each other. You can even have a process here. You don't really have to have just 2 rollers. You can have multiple rollers. So it provides a lot of flexibility here. The guiding action is actually happening in the exit span. We don't want to install the sensor too far away or in the next span. This is mainly for control system purposes and stability. When the web guide makes a corrective action, that action is not seen at the sensor immediately. So if you're running really fast, you might get away with moving these sensors a little farther down. But if you're running slow, whenever this web guide moves here, you would see that motion if the sensor is as close to the exit roller as possible. If you install it here or here, especially when the web stops and there is a small error, the web guide would keep moving, and that might cause the web to break or have unintended consequences. So we don't want to have the sensor further away or in the next span. And we don't also want to have a scenario where you have an angle that is not 90 degrees. If you have a 90-degree wrap, you have twist. As soon as you introduce something which is deviating more from the 90 degree, you start creating bending in the web. So these kind of bending is going to act as understeering the web. It's going to cause bending that's going to understeer the web. And it also causes distortions and guide instability. So we don't really want to have any of these conditions. On the contrary, if you have a exit span that is spread out like this is going to oversteer the web. It's the bending effect that is causing that. And we really don't want to do that. So ideal scenario would be to have a 90-degree wrap in and out.